The title is I Tattooed My Eyeballs Purple and Blue, Now I'm Going Blind. I was just going to get one eye tattoo at first because I thought that if I go blind, at least I've got the other one. I should have stuck with that. Well, there's a picture right there. That's what her eyes look like. And she has, oh look, there's a picture of her eyes swollen after it. Imagine a needle going into the white of my eye. Just
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below. I really appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
the title is I Tattooed My Eyeballs Purple and Blue, Now I'm Going Blind. I was just going to get one eye tattoo at first because I thought that if I go blind, at least I've got the other one. I should have stuck with that. Well, there's a picture right there. That's what her eyes look like. And she has face tattoos. You know, I was gonna say, like, what happened to the good old-fashioned face tattoo? But then here's my answer right here. Oh, look, there's a picture of her eyes swollen after it. Oh, couldn't imagine a needle going into the white of my eye. Just can't. I don't even know how someone can even do that.
Like, why would somebody want to get their eyeballs tattooed? I understand. Hands, arm, neck, face, but your eyeballs, that a needle going into your cornea? That ain't it for me.
Tattoo removal gone wrong.
Damn, man. What they do? Are they scratching the arm?
Can you hold my camera right here? Just right there. Yep. Perfect.
It's supposed to be a jellyfish?
Look at that. It's literally as big as my finger. Look at that.
Feeling the itching stage.
Memphis, have you ever had to stop in the middle of a tattoo?
I was tattooing one of my clients, and he was kind of a roughneck guy. You could tell that he's seen some things. He was kind of just telling me stories, talking up his life as I was tattooing him. Halfway through our tattoo session, my dad's client stood up, turned around, and informed the man that he was a police officer and detained him. As it turns out, he heard enough of our conversation, just eavesdropping, to recollect that he was one of the people that was a person of interest in a case that they were actively investigating. So that guy, unfortunately, was detained with a tattoo that will never be finished.
Aaliyah, have you ever had to stop in the middle of a tattoo?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't want this to sound mean or like I'm judging, because I'm not, but sometimes tattoos really hurt. I've had to stop before and tell someone, like, maybe you should try numbing cream next time.
So, a person got caught in 4K, man, because he wanted to talk about what he was doing at a tattoo shop. I guarantee he did not expect a police officer to be there, man. Mid tattoo? That ain't getting finished, bro. That's wild. Dang, what did they be doing to make it peel that bad? Or is it the needles? Fun fact, I don't have no tattoos. And seeing these videos, it's making me skeptical, bro.
Put a finger down if you went and got a tattoo on your birthday and the tattoo artist spelled the word wrong on your body. Yep, that happened to me. He spelled the word wrong on my body. Story time, everybody. On my birthday in October, I went and got the word that says divine. Now, homegirl spelled divine instead of D-I-V-I-N-E. It was D-E-V-I-N-E. And I got a text later that night. It's like birthday dinner time. And she's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I tattooed the word wrong on you. I was honestly laughing, but like, you know when you're so like in shock that you're like nervous laughing? That was me. She spelled it wrong. She fixed it by adding, like, you see the circles? Added a little circle. She like looped it because it wasn't looped. And she added a little dot to it. And then she gave me a free tattoo. So I got the word faithful. But literally, I got the word divine tattooed wrong on me, and let me tell you how this happened. I didn't get this tattoo in the actual studio. I got it at this pop-up event they were doing where like 3 companies came together. They were doing bracelets, tattoos, and smoothies, all companies owned by females to help support the girlies. Since it was a little pop-up shop, you can only pick from the tattoos provided off of the little list or sheet that they had. She had pre-printed stencils that said divine. So she placed it on her body and was like, and because of like where it is, like I looked at it upside down and I was like, oh yeah, that looks good, you know? And she's like, do you like the placement? I said, yeah. So like, I didn't really like looking at it upside down. It looked fine to me. And then I went and looked in the mirror and kind of looked from afar and I was like, oh, that looks cute. I like it. Anyways, like, to me, especially if like the stencils pre-printed, like how is that on me? So anyways, she said that all of her stencils were wrong. So like I was the only person that got that word tattooed, but she had like several flashes that were happening that day and all of those flash divine tattoos were wrong. So if anyone else would have gotten that tattoo, they would have gotten it wrong too. So that's how that happened. But because it was like a special event, I guess it was missed.
Allie, what's one
How did she? How did she have all the flash wrongs, man? See, that's what happens, bro. When you be getting those tattoos, I guess those free tattoos. Always bound for a mistake to happen.
tattoo you're never gonna do ever again?
It's safe to say I don't think I'll ever tattoo somebody's stepmom's feet on them. That was a wild ride.
Aaliyah, what's one tattoo you're never gonna do again?
Probably not another stupid forehead tattoo.
Donnie, what's one tattoo you're never gonna do ever again?
This might be a good time for the cautionary tale of Gentle Gary. Gentle Gary was a guy that used to hang out at the tattoo shop. One day he comes in and he wants this tattoo on his chest that says, "Do not resuscitate." Well, he was kind of the kind of guy that gets that kind of tattoo, so I did it. Well, fast forward about 3 weeks, maybe a month later, I wake up one day and I've got like 64 missed calls, missed texts. It wasn't him, it was someone that was in his family that was trying to get a hold of me. Someone texted me that Gentle Gary had to go to the hospital. They saw the do not resuscitate and had to make a call whether or not that was a joke or that was serious, and they were trying to get a hold of me to verify. Finally, someone answers the phone and it's Gentle Gary, and he sounds really groggy, and I'm like, "Dude, what the hell is going on? Are you okay?" And he says, "Dude, I was just trying to play a joke. We stayed up as long as we could to wait for you to pick up, but you never did, and then my phone died." So the lesson is never tattoo Gentle Gary. Don't mess with the do not resuscitate tattoos. It's too serious to make a joke out of it.
Looked so bad like dry glue. So I used this natural gel.
Did it work?
Is it going to be okay, or is it ruined?
I think it's cooked, bro.
This is a
She
new
said, "No,
tattoo.
I'm good."
It's called Your Skin is Melting Tattoo. How does it feel?
Terrible.
My God, those are blisters.
I don't know what tattoo artist responsible is, but they should know their limitations, and they don't. They should know their limitations, because they did good with the cross. They should have told him no when they said we're going to take the cross all the way up to the top of the back of his head. He should have said, "Nah, I'm not doing that, but I got you with a cross on your back." He did real good with the cross. But when it comes to people, who is that right there? Who is this person supposed to be right here?
I think we all know who that's supposed to be. Yeah, but I don't think faces are his forte.
Because I know that who is supposed, I think it's supposed to be. I know they ain't supposed to be old Jose Cristo. I know it is not supposed to be Jesus. I know this ain't who it's supposed to be. Cause sir, this is a whole nother I can't say exactly what I think is wrong with this person. But I will say it do like Matt Stafford. That do look like Matt Stafford.
Oh, he's cooking up, bro.
Yeah, that's Matt Stafford. Quarterback used to be with Georgia. Yeah, that's him. They gotta be him. Or either it's somebody else.
Yeah.
Nobody admits anything.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no, it's like that frog that gives birth out of its back. Oh my. That is, oh no, oh the infection, the reaction, the holes in your leg from this black ink. Oh God, oh it's disgusting. Oh I hate it, makes me feel so sick. I have to stop it, no, I feel sick. Those holes in the leg. Oh, invasion of the body snatchers, very botfly burrowing into the skin. Get to a doctor, please, get some antibiotics. What is going on here? Reaction, ink, infection, death.
I got a tattoo on the roof of my mouth and instantly regretted it. Getting a tattoo seemed like a cool idea until it turned into my worst nightmare. 5 days after getting it, I started running a dangerously high fever and had uncontrollable chills. The pain in my mouth was unbearable, and nothing I did made it better. Then I blacked out at home because my fever got so high my mom panicked and called 911. I had never felt so sick in my life. My whole body was shaking. And the first genuinely thought that was it for me. As soon as I got to the hospital, they admitted me and ran a bunch of tests. The very first test confirmed it had a severe bloodstream infection. I started taking medication, thinking was finally on the road to recovery. But my nightmare was just beginning. The area where I got the tattoo started turning black, and the pain was excruciating. I couldn't even drink water or anything that touched it felt like torture. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, the doctors came in with my final diagnosis. It was the worst news I had ever received in my life.
All right, so I'm going to tell you guys.
Why would you get a tattoo on the root of your mouth? This should be, man, people don't understand limits, man. Like I said, hand, legs, neck, face is one thing, but when you start going to your eyes, inside your mouth, that's taking it to a whole nother level, man. I couldn't even do it. Imagine a tattoo artist when somebody asks for a tattoo like that.
How I ended up with an infected tattoo that bad, now that it's covered and all good, and what it was like having it. So the first day I got it done, it actually didn't look so bad. Like, it was a pretty nice tattoo. Now, I've healed a lot of tattoos in my life. Now, the place I went, they are a clean shop. They do have clean practices. I will say infections can happen to anyone, and it can be either the artist or the client's fault. In this case, it happened within the first 48 hours, which indicates that it was actually part of the application of the tattoo. So next day, tattoos are a little painful. That's normal. However, it was fucking excruciating for me, and the next day, fucking excruciating. Like, if I put my hand down, it was really, really painful, and I noticed that it should stop leaking plasma after the first night, and it was continuously leaking plasma. I'm like, there's something a little off about this. After about 4 or 5 days, when it wasn't healing at all, I went and got antibiotics. Now, I started taking these oral antibiotics, and they did absolutely fucking nothing. About 5 more days later, my boss and my fiance convinced me to go to a hospital, which is when they put me on an IV antibiotic. This was about 3 days into the original antibiotic that I was taking. So I'm at the hospital, they put me on an IV, they look at it, and I explained to them that I literally had washed it with an antiseptic cleanser. I was using Pure Sand, which is all chlorhexidol-based cleansers that are meant for healing tattoos. I was washing it, I was keeping it clean, I was patting it dry, I was using a fresh clean paper towel to clean it, I wasn't applying heavy amounts of cream. Like, I've healed a lot of tattoos and know what I'm doing. And they're like, okay, well, it definitely was in the application because this infection is like under your skin. Then they sent me to an outpatient clinic, and then they put me on an at-home IV for 2 days, and then that followed up with another, like, probably 2 weeks of antibiotics, and my body was fucking shot after that. My hair started falling out. A few of you were asking why I didn't get it done by Steve in the first place. Now, the sleeve was started 10 years ago. I was trying to have the original artist finish the tattoo, but after this, and then bumping appointments around so much that it took me 10 years to get a fucking sleeve, I was just really, really done with the whole process, to be honest. So I'm like, hey, Steve, you're gonna have to fix this. And he's like, well, let's figure out what caused it in the first place. And we were kind of narrowing it down. I went through the whole process of getting tattooed, what happened. And we basically narrowed it down to either contaminated ink or contaminated wash water. Basically, a lot of artists use distilled water. Now, distilled water can sit on a shelf for a very long time. There's no regulations on it, and distilled does not mean sterile. So there could be bacteria growing in there and growing resistant bacteria inside that water bottle, transferred to a wash bottle, goes into the skin. Contaminated ink. Where I'm from, you have to label the day that you open your inks, and they're expired 1 year after. Where I got the tattoo, which is in a different province, that's not a regulation, and I know that that shop is a communal ink station, and all the artists use the ink. So if one of them fucked it up without really realizing it, I was the one that suffered the consequences. And the last time she had tattooed me with that color, I had a bit of a rough heel. So basically, pretty sure it was the ink that had just kind of been contaminated. That bacteria continued to grow, causing me to get an infection and end up in a hospital. And that's the story of my fucked up clam.
Times where man, it's so many small things, bro, that can mess up a tattoo, man. They was using distilled water, the ink. Well, like she said, she was breaking it down for us, man. But it was like, it was a group of artists using it, so I guess it was like a pool of them. If one person mess it up, then it'll mess up everybody's. And she paid. And I guess that's what happened to her tattoo, man. These are some wild stories.
Tattoos went horribly wrong. I'd like to introduce you to a girl named Kimberly Vermack, better known as the Starface. Now, Kimberly always wanted tattoos, so on her 18th birthday, she ended up going to the closest tattoo shop and requesting 3-star tattoos on the left side of her face. She spoke with the tattoo artist, came up with the design, and then they got the tattooing. Now, she claimed that she fell asleep during the tattoo process just to wake up to find 56 stars tattooed on the left side of her face. Devastated, she ended up suing the tattoo artist for $14,000 for her laser tattoo removal. However, an investigation started and they found out that there were some inconsistencies with Kimberly's story. She ended up confessing, saying that she liked the look of the 56 stars tattooed across her face, but ended up blaming the tattoo artist once her father found out and negatively said things about her tattoos, leaving her with a face full of stars. Look, this story right here is a perfect example to always think before you ink. Now, what do you think about this story? Leave a comment below, and thank you so much for watching.
Hello and good morning. Today is a really exciting day for me. Just a little tiny warning that if you're like squeamish, maybe this isn't the story time for you. In 2011, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida, where I was born and raised, and I got tattooed by a certain person, male, that if you are familiar with Jacksonville, Florida, and the tattoo scene, you probably know who I'm talking about, so I'm not going to really blast it up too much, but this person has since been convicted of some pretty awful crimes against women. And at the time I was getting tattooed, I was on my second session, and according to some other people that were in the shop at the time, he was touching his iPhone and then with his gloved hand and then like touching my back to tattoo me. So bad vibes all the way around. He's just yuck and like a horrible person. And I didn't know how to stand up for myself at the time. Doesn't really matter. Long story short, I developed a cyst in my back in the middle of the tattoo that stayed there for 9 fucking years. During the time, I saw a couple of different dermatologists. They all said that they were uncomfortable with getting the cyst out because they knew it would mess up the tattoo. I really didn't care, but no one I could find would actually remove the cyst. So about 3 years ago, while I was just driving my car, I leaned back into the car seat and the cyst exploded everywhere. So now I have a big old hole in my back in the middle of my tattoo. I'm going to show you a picture from far away. It's on this side, and then I'll zoom in close for anybody who wants to see it. But it's right there. You can kind of see there's a little hole in my back. Okay, now I'll do one just a bit closer up in case you want to see it close, but obviously I understand if you do not. It is right there, obviously. And I do have pictures of when it exploded, but y'all are still eating breakfast. I ain't going to do that to you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm heading to the dermatologist today. They're going to be doing a punch excision, I think is the name of it, but it doesn't really matter. They're going to be closing that hole up. And then in a couple of months, I'm hoping to go see my girlfriend Selena, who is in Charlotte. She's an amazing tattoo artist who actually kind of was one of the main people that exposed this asshole back when it happened. And I just want to close this chapter. Really excited. And yeah.
So my mom decided to get a tattoo.
Wow.
She'd been talking about it for years. She loves horses and she wanted to get a horse tattoo. However, she didn't know if she just wanted to get like the side profile or its face or the whole body. She was undecisive. Well, then she finally decided, I'm just going to get a full body horse tattoo. So I took her down, dropped her off. 12 hours later, I get a phone call from the tattoo artist. He's concerned because my mother had changed her mind. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean she's changed her mind? You've had her for 12 hours, so what did she change? Apparently, she wanted 5 horses.
What?
Now, when I heard my mother say that she wanted full body horse tattoo. I'm thinking the full body of the horse. But this man who's doing her tattoo says no, she wants her full body tattooed of 5 horses. And I really couldn't argue with her because he had already done it. 5 full body horses on my mother's full body. She's 80. How is that even going to look? Well, let's go down and check it out, shall we? Well, it actually looks pretty good, Mom.
People who are 1 in a million. Part 2. This is Gary Turner, but he's better known as the Elastic Man. He has a medical condition that causes his skin to be so stretchy that he can stretch the skin from his neck over his mouth. Next is Nanya Su, who's a boy with perfect night vision. His parents both have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes that glow when a light is shined. He claims that it's hard to see during the day, but while everyone sees this at night, this is what he sees. This is Paul Carrison, the real-life Papa Smurf. To fix his skin condition, he would drink silver and rub it on his skin every day, causing him to turn irreversibly blue. Finally, this man came into the hospital with severe chest pain, and doctors were shocked when they discovered he had 2 hearts, and he had suffered a double heart attack.
This truck driver took the life of 5 people because he was distracted on TikTok. The morning of January 12, 2023, 36-year-old Danny Tyner was driving on Interstate 10 in Arizona when he drove his tractor trailer in to stop the traffic. This scene is so difficult to look at, but basically his truck sandwiched 2 other cars with another big truck at the front. These are the 5 victims that lost their lives on that day, and when Danny was asked what happened, he said that he looked down for a couple of seconds because he got a notification on his work tablet, and when he looked back up, there was not enough time to brake. But that wasn't true. When his phone was analyzed, it showed that he was actively using TikTok when the crash happened. Now, what I found disturbing was that during his interaction with police, he didn't seem too fazed. He was eventually charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for each count of negligent homicide, which totaled to 22.5 years.
This is the track.
Man, I'm telling you guys, when you out driving, man, just do not be on your phone, man. Like I said, social media is a distraction, man. That's basically what it was made for. So why would you even attempt to even look at it while you're driving, bro? That's just doesn't make sense to me. Look at the result of what happened, man. Multiple senses, man, because you just wanted to scroll on TikTok, man. TikTok cannot be, well, we know it's that addicting, man, where you just want to keep scrolling and scrolling, but you drive and you don't have that luxury.
Tragic story of the Boy Scout who made his entire neighborhood radioactive. Nicknamed the Nuclear Boy Scout, David Hahn was a teenager from Michigan who was obsessed with nuclear radiation. When he was only 15, David attempted to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard shed, using radioactive material from household items including vintage clocks, smoke detectors, and gun sights. Within 2 years, David had built a functioning reactor which gave off enough radiation to be detected throughout his entire neighborhood.
Damn.
David was soon caught by police when they found hazardous materials in his car during a routine stop and thought he was building an atomic bomb. When David's shed was raided by the EPA, they determined that his project had created dangerous levels of radiation, leading them to dismantle the building and classify it as hazardous waste. This mugshot from 2006 shows David covered in sores as a result of his extensive exposure to radiation. This, combined with continuous legal and mental health issues, led to David's early passing at the age of 39 from an accidental overdose.
Wanted to become like Adam Man or something.
Superpowers, Part 2. The Super Coffee Drinker, BDNF. Carriers of this gene remain completely unaffected to the effects of caffeine from coffee, and can often easily get a night's sleep after drinking a cup. The perfect memory gene, HSAM. If you are lucky enough to be born with this gene, you will have almost a perfect memory. However, it's extremely rare with only 25 confirmed cases. The Super Sprinter gene, ACTN3. People with these genes are able to run extra fast, as these genetics give your muscles a higher flexing rate, which gives them more explosive power.
Speed
the
got that.
immunity gene, ALDH2. Having this super rare gene will mean you will never be able to experience being drunk with your friends, and you might have a lot of explaining to do, as it gives you total immunity from the effects of being drunk.
Imagine if everybody had that, the world would be a safer place, man. Everybody's immune to alcohol. Woo. And the speed definitely got the freaking sprinter gene, bro. I know what I'm talking about. He's too fast. That's the only explanation.
This is how rare your body is compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle. It's this little bump on the outside of your ear. And it's said that people who have this are better at sensing voice tonality. 10% of people also have what's called Morton's toe. This is where your big toe is shorter than the toe next to it. Only 26% of people have a narrator inside their head. Most people don't hear a voice when they think. What's even more rare is only 5% of people have their tongues tied to their mouth. I thought everyone had this. Everyone flares their nostrils subconsciously, but only 30% of people can do it on command. Less than 1% of people have unbreakable bones, making you basically superhuman. Only about 35% of people can gleek, and only 1% can do it on command. And gleeking is when you squirt saliva from underneath your tongue.
Any secret? Can you guys gleek, bro? I've seen that before. I've always wanted to know what that was, man. I finally got an answer. It's called gleeking, bro. Shoot saliva through your tongue. That's a very, I guess, rare skill set. You got any gleekers, man, in the comments? Oh, that's insane, bro.
This incident has made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who's a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad, because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
People who are 1 in a million.
Explained it
This girl's
perfectly.
name is Zhang Rufeng, and she is over 100 years old. But a few years ago, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. At first, it started off small, but now it's grown up to 6 centimeters in length. But the craziest part is, she's actually starting to grow a second horn on the other side. And doctors have offered to remove it from her head, but she refuses. Before I show you the craziest one, I just found a way you can find your celebrity lookalike, and apparently I look like Mr. Beast. If you want to know who your celebrity lookalike is, just press this link in the comments. Next up is Nang Yasoi, and he has perfect night vision. And the strange part about this is both his parents have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes. When everyone else sees darkness, he sees perfectly in the middle of the night.
The rarest things found on Earth. This is a red diamond, and it is one of the rarest material known to man. Because of that, they are way more expensive than normal diamonds. This tiny one is worth around $25 million.
Damn.
And this is a corpse flower. It's basically a giant flower that smells like rotting flesh, and it can only be found in remote areas in Indonesia. Imagine having one of these in your garden. And this small and beautiful sea creature is a blue dragon. It's only a few inches big, but it eats deadly jellyfish every day for food.
The more you know. I want that freaking red diamond.
A Russian
You gotta
scientist
find
injected
it.
himself with this ancient bacteria to see what would happen. Dr. Anatoly Brushkov discovered bacteria deep within the permafrost of Siberia that was 3.5 million years old, and somehow it was still alive. It was named Bacillus F, and after doing some experiments on it, he realized the bacteria not only seemed to be immune to aging, but also appeared to have a life-extending effect on almost every organism it touched. He tested the strain on female mice who were able to continue reproducing into old age, much older than the average mice could, and when he exposed it to crops, they grew faster and were more frost resistant. The town of Yakut, Siberia, close to where this bacteria was found, also happens to be one of the coldest human settlements on Earth, with their population reporting longer lifespans than average humans, perhaps due to Bacillus F leaking into their water supply. Dr. Brushkov was so convinced he said "fuck it" and injected himself with the ancient bacterium to test it out firsthand. 2 years later, he reported dramatic improvements to his general health, claiming to need less sleep, working longer hours, and just having more energy in his day-to-day life. He also allegedly had hasn't gotten sick since he injected himself with it, with him and his colleagues starting to call it the elixir of life. Dr. Brushkov did this in 2013 and claims to be in the best health of his life today. And I'm sure Big Pharma loves the idea of a miracle life potion that would potentially lose them billions of dollars a year in revenue, so we definitely should not question any articles that debunk this find. To be fair, these effects aren't exactly 100% confirmed and could very well be a placebo effect, but that sure didn't stop others from hopping on the Bacillus F bandwagon. German actress Manouche began self-medicating the bacteria and reported being able to go for longer runs, feeling less cold in the winter, and her skin just feeling softer and younger. Brushkov and his team insist the effects of Bacillus F are clear and significant, although they admit they're not yet sure why it has the effect it does. But if they can manage to isolate the gene responsible for the positive benefits of the bacteria, they may have just discovered the ultimate elixir of life. As long as there isn't, you know, a whole ass industry with infinite money that tries to stop it.
The elixir of life. I gotta believe that, man. Like I said, it could be a placebo effect, but I mean, if you can inject yourself with like a million years old bacteria, you have to be pretty sure to do that. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Go down that rabbit hole.
Toys Ever, Part 51. Mr. Bucket, released in 1990, discontinued twice and brought back. But what was the problem? Well, the shape of the mouth didn't help. But the only thing they actually changed were the words in the jingle. A certain part they decided to cut out.
I'm Mr. Bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Toss your balls in my top. I'm Mr. Bucket. Out of my mouth,
Extinct animals, scientists are close to reviving. Firstly, the woolly mammoth. It was believed to have gone extinct 25,000 years ago, but scientists discovered hundreds that just died recently. So they're planning to put its DNA inside African elephants, and they expect to bring them back in the next 5 years. Next, dodo birds were hunted to extinction 400 years ago, but a preserved head was recently discovered. By mixing that DNA with a maned pigeon, dodo birds should be coming back in 15 years. Finally, expect to see saber-toothed tigers outside soon, because scientists discovered DNA preserved in tar pits, and they plan to combine it with African lions. So this 10-inch tooth beast should be coming back in 10 years.
That's throwing off the environment, man. They shouldn't be doing that.
Never slice tomatoes this way. So when this guy noticed that his boss was slicing tomatoes one by one, wasting a lot of time, he decided to show him a trick that everyone should know. He took a plate, put a few tomatoes on it, covered them with another plate, and in one move, he sliced more tomatoes than his boss in an hour.
This pedophile artist still had an incredibly successful career after he was convicted. Meet Nobuhiro Watsuki. So Nobuhiro is from Japan. He was born in Tokyo, and he started drawing from a very early age. Eventually, Nobuhiro began publishing his manga. He started winning awards and began making a name for himself in anime. Now, a lot of people will recognize this guy's art, his works, but his most popular work has to be Rurouni Kenshin. I totally said that wrong, I'm sure. For decades, Nobuhiro was one of the biggest manga artists and authors in all of Japan. Like I said, receiving a lot of awards. But in 2017, Japanese police raided Nobuhiro's office. And inside of his office, they found 100 DVDs. Each one of these DVDs contained CP or CSAM. And all of these videos and photos featured children in their early teens. I mean, absolutely disgusting stuff. But what did the authorities in Japan do after finding this? Was he given a long prison sentence? 100 DVDs is a lot. Nope, he was fined about $1,500. That's right, he served 0 time in jail or prison and had to pay $1,500. And then shortly afterwards, his serialization of his manga continued, basically as if nothing had ever happened. Now, I'm not really a manga anime guy, but I'm sure that a lot of people on here are, and will definitely recognize this work. And I'm sure that a lot of the people that read this stuff don't know the history of the author. And in my mind, somebody who's convicted of a crime like this should never be supported in any sort of way. Financially, artistically, it doesn't matter. This is the type of guy that should be cut off from society. But he was pretty unrepentant, obviously, a $1,500 fine. I would definitely myself encourage Japanese authorities to go check this guy's hard drives nowadays. But as for now, he's pretty much untouched.
Have you ever seen a
That's
Mickey
insane,
Mouse
man.
gas mask? These were made to calm terrified children. About a month after Pearl Harbor, Walt Disney was in Washington, D.C. to design and discuss Mickey Mouse gas masks for children. 1,000 of these were produced and given away to key members of Congress to help support the project. At the time, President Roosevelt even received one. Walt Disney also came up with drawing designs for Pluto and Three Little Pigs gas masks, although these ones never reached production. They attempted to keep the fun element in something as grim as gas raids. During these raids, children would be persuaded to regard the whole thing as a game.
That's crazy, man. A freaking Mickey Mouse gas mask? Makes you wonder, man, what other freaking, I guess, companies and stuff made things in that time. But like I said, there was only 1,000 of them, so obviously it was a limited number. That was just a dark time, man, in history. Kids had to think it was a game.
Curtain number 1 is... Correct! Wait.
That's an edit.
You don't remember what she looks like?
You call them out.
Here are the craziest things to ever happen at Walmart. So one day, an 18-year-old was craving milk. So he decided to steal not 1, not 2, but 26 gallons of milk from Walmart. Oh, and he did this dressed as a cow. And if that doesn't sound weird enough to you, you'd be surprised to learn that even though he made himself stand out in the cow costume, he managed to not get caught on the spot. Next, on Black Friday in 2013, a customer and his son were freaking out in Walmart because they thought that his ex-wife was possessed by a demon. And so they locked her in their car and set up an exorcism in the parking lot by throwing sacred oil at her, which might have been the reason why they ended up divorcing. Also, back in 2013, a 16-year-old was going into labor, and she gave birth in a Cannon City Walmart bathroom. Now, there was panic for a moment because the baby wasn't breathing, but luckily, one of the store's employees were CPR certified and they revived the baby. I guess Walmart really can help you live better. And finally, in 2011, at a Walmart in South Carolina, customers witnessed a man named Avery Blandon end the life of his wife, Lilia Blandon, while she was working inside the store's bank. Avery stabbed her multiple times, and she sadly passed away on the way to the hospital. He then tried to escape the scene, but he crashed his SUV and was caught by police. But what's weird is that the store stayed open during the investigation, only in Walmart.
Did you guys see this video of these two planes that almost crashed into each other in midair? It was all caught by this police officer's dash cam. This all happened last month in Syracuse, New York, when a Delta airplane was cleared to take off, while at the same time an American airline airplane was cleared to land in the same runway. So the Delta airplane was on its way to LaGuardia Airport while the American airline plane was arriving from Washington Reagan Airport. What's crazy is that these two planes were only 725 feet away from each other in the air, but from the ground's point of view, they looked so much closer. At one point, the two planes were side by side, and that should not be happening for obvious reasons, which is why the job of an air traffic controller is so important. And this error was completely on the air traffic controller, who shouldn't have cleared both airplanes at the same time. It's still unclear why and how this happened, but they're still investigating. Thankfully, both planes did not collide, and all 159 passengers are safe.
It's official.
That's insane to think about, man. Like, they were literally like that close. Like, there's like a hair off if something happened, man. Like she said, it was the air trafficker's job. That they need to, whoever was there that day, they had to get their freaking job reviewed or something like that, because they obviously was not paying attention. Flights, man. One of the most scariest things, man, that can happen. Fun fact, I've never been on an airplane before yet. I've never flown yet, so that just raises my anxiety.
Aliens exist. These are the remains of non-human creatures. They were presented to a hearing in Mexico's Congress, which is investigating unidentified anomalous phenomena. The hearing was told that the specimens were found in Peru in 2017 and apparently are 700 and 1800 years old. People online were quick to compare the likeness to that of E.T. from the movie. One user wrote, "No way, they can't be that small. Those are mutated cats." But looking at a picture that was released of their skull skull, this is no cat, which is eerily similar to a skull they found in 2021. What's worse is experts testified under oath that one of them is seen to have eggs inside it, and both specimens were said to have implants made of very rare metals. And even though the aliens are pretty small, you can tell that this is clearly something different. I ain't gonna lie, this guy looks like he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow. Let's take one last look. Do you believe in aliens?
Morbid facts.
Do you?
Part 402. George Lopez has a genetic condition that caused his kidneys to slowly deteriorate. So when he needed a new kidney in 2005, his wife Ann gave him one of her own. A couple years later, George reportedly cheated on his wife, then divorced her in 2010, all while wearing her kidney. The first scientist to observe penguins engaging in gay intercourse, grape, and necrophilia was so disturbed that he tried to obscure his findings to prevent people from knowing the truth about penguins. In 1995, a substitute school bus driver in Illinois stopped at a red light with the back part of the bus still on some train tracks. The children were screaming for her to move the bus forward as a train approached, but she was confused about what they meant. The train struck the bus at 60 miles per hour and 7 children were killed. In 2018, Gloria Williams pleaded guilty to posing as a nurse to abduct Kamaya Mobley from her mother's arms in the maternity ward. She was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the same length of time Kamaya was separated from her birth family.
That was not it.
4-year-old Gabby Mann was living in Seattle, Washington with her family. One day, she dropped a chicken nugget onto the ground, and before she could pick it up, a neighborhood crow swooped down and took the free lunch. And because Gabby was a messy eater, she continued to drop food everywhere she went, and so she continued to inadvertently feed these crows. She grew to really enjoy the attention, and so she started feeding them huge portions of her lunch. When Gabby's mother discovered where most of her daughter's food was going, she wasn't upset. She was just worried her daughter wasn't getting enough to eat. They would go out and buy some food just for the crows. She and her mom began feeding the crows every day. Gabby went outside one morning to refill the peanut tray when she noticed there was a small earring. Over the following few weeks, when more and more little trinkets started showing up, Gabby's mom installed a camera. She was amazed to see the crows would come in and they would eat their food, and then they would leave behind these shiny little trinkets. But the crows' most astonishing gift came the following year. Gabby's mother was an avid photographer, and one day she was out by herself photographing a bald eagle. She managed to drop a lens cover to one of her cameras. That night, when she got back to her house, she couldn't believe what was sitting there. She ran back inside and pulled up the footage from the bird camera, and there it was, a crow coming into the yard with the lens cap in its mouth. This behavior is very significant because it means the relationship between the crows and Gabby and her mom was not a transactional one. Today, Gabby and her mother still feed the crows every single day, and the crows still love Gabby and her mother.
Okay,
It's like good karma coming back to
a
you.
pharmaceutical company that's trialing a new groundbreaking age reversal pill had such good results that the local news wanted to run a story on them. But before they even could publish the video, the chairman and CEO died. You see, 6 months ago, this 12-year-old German Shepherd was near death. He had terminal cancer, was operated on, and his prognosis wasn't looking good. The dog's caretaker knew that an age reversal trial was being conducted on dogs, and so she asked if Zeus could be a part of it due to his dire situation. The pill's aim is to lengthen telomere caps on human stem cells, because as part of the aging process, our telomeres shorten, which increases the chance of age-related diseases and, of course, death.
If you can increase telomeres, you can reproduce stem cells and keep repairing things so that you can get literally younger.
They said that in their drug's preclinical data from a previous in vitro human cell study, it showed that the medication lengthened telomeres by almost 200%. Zeus was granted access to the medication in April, and his caretaker said that she saw results almost immediately.
He's doing marvelously. He goes out to our pool and he swims and he has fun and he plays with the tennis ball.
A recent scan showed that the cancer in his body had completely disappeared, and the results were so remarkable that she asked for more to give another 12-year-old dog that could hardly walk due to arthritis. And just last week, she said that he had started galloping and running again. But then, despite all of that, he hit us with this.
And we are sad to report that since this interview was conducted, Dr. Christopher Chapman has recently passed away.
On the company's website, they announced his passing, saying, out of respect and privacy for Dr. Chapman's family, details of the 71-year-old's passing will not be made available. And then added that to support the new chairman and CEO, 3 telomere directors have voluntarily resigned. Human trials for this drug are planned for mid-2025.
The rarest things in the world.
What do you think happened?
Vaquita, only 10 left in the wild. Rare Rarest gem on Earth, painite, worth $60,000 per carat. Rarest poker hand, the royal flush, 1 in 655,000 chance. Rarest element on Earth, astatine, less than 1 gram on Earth exists. Rarest car, Ferrari 250 Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo? Didn't they make a movie about that?
Okay, this is getting hard to believe, but there has just been reports of a second wave of explosions in Lebanon, but this time it's people's walkie-talkies. So yesterday, Hezbollah fighters' pagers, today, their radios. Initial reports are saying that the most recent wave of explosions have caused cars and houses to be set on fire, and there were even reports, this one's crazy, that one exploded at a funeral of someone who died from yesterday's explosions. And while I'm on the topic of explosions, you're going to see a lot of reports of people saying explosive devices found at Trump rally, even going as far as saying third assassination attempt, question mark. Let me just save you some time. That is a false report. There's going to be a lot of corrections. Don't worry about it. I'll keep you updated.
Imagine being kidnapped, locked in a basement, and then when the police come, they just leave you there to die. Back in the 1980s, many girls in Belgium were just randomly vanishing without a trace. This guy right here, Mark Detroit, was the guy who was doing all of this. Now in his early years, he had a lot of relationship issues and ended up marrying his second wife, Michelle Martin, this woman right here. What these two would do together genuinely will make you feel sick. Major trigger warning, if you're easily scared, please just keep on scrolling right now. This is your final warning. On June the 7th, 1985, they took their first victim, who was an 11-year-old girl walking home from school, which they kidnapped. They took her back to their place, armed her, and then took a photo of her after this before just releasing her. Now they did this tons of times before actually being caught by the police the first time, but then it got far worse. So they were both arrested but got a very, very short sentence and were out in no time. Mark was released in 1992 after serving literally 3 years in prison for all of this. Of course, the reason they were caught the first time was because the victims they let go free had reported them, so they built this literal dungeon in the basement of the house where they would keep people. He went on to kidnap at least 6 people in the space of a couple years and left them all in here. At this time, the news was going crazy in the local area because tons of girls were going missing, no one knew where they were, but they were all in here. Now, even crazier again, Mark's own mother actually reported him to the police and they still didn't go round. And she even told the police that he literally had girls captive in the basement right now and the police did nothing. Not long after this, though, Mark was actually arrested for something completely separate, stealing a car, and he told his wife she would have to keep the girls in the basement alive by watering them and feeding them. Yeah. Now, by far, the most angering part of this whole story is that the police finally went round and did a check on the house. He literally heard children screaming and begging for help, and they walked out. They did nothing. Because apparently it sounded like the screams were coming from outside and just kids playing prank or something. Like, what? There was even undeveloped camera film on the side here, which they just didn't develop, but if they did, they would have seen literally everything. Now apparently this woman was too scared to go into the basement and look after the girls, so tragically passed away. When he finally got out, he started again, and more girls started vanishing, until eventually someone came forward after spotting him in a van, basically while in the act. He then confessed, showed the police the whole basement and everything, and even showed them where some bodies of people were. He also reportedly had another accomplice, but they had a disagreement, and he unalived him and buried him in the house as well. After the whole case came to a close, she got 30 years in jail, and he got a life sentence.
At Harvard, stole people's heads, brains, and skin from cadavers and sold them in the black market. 57-year-old Cedric Lodge was a Harvard Medical School morgue manager and just pleaded guilty to stealing and selling body parts from cadavers. He worked at Harvard for 30 years and ran a program where people donate their body parts for science, and it wasn't until recently that they found out he was stealing body parts. From 2018 to 2020, he secretly removed organs, brains, skin, hands, faces, and dissected heads after the bodies were used for research. Instead of disposing of the bodies, he took them home to New Hampshire. His wife was also in on this, and they sold the remains to buyers in different states. And they made good money doing this, apparently tens of thousands of dollars. Cedric pleaded guilty this week and faces up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Harvard did fire him in 2023 and called his actions a morally reprehensible betrayal. The school also insists that he did act alone and that no other Harvard employee was involved. But get this, some human remains were also found being sold on Facebook Marketplace.
Life hacks.
Do you guys believe the corruption just stopped there, or there could possibly be more to that story, Seekers? I don't know. That sounds like a freaking deep rabbit hole we might have to go down. His wife is in on it too, so who's to say some other people weren't in on it? You never know.
That everyone needs to know part 2. To remove a tight ring that's stuck on your finger, all you have to do is grab a string and tuck it under the ring. And then grab that same string and wrap it around your finger, and from there all you have to do is grab the other side and start pulling. The ring will magically remove itself. All you have to do to remove tape paper without ripping it is to hold the tape from both ends and start pulling really hard, which will then cause the tape to get removed super easily. If your house key broke in the lock for some reason, just get yourself a hot glue stick and place it inside the lock just like this, and just wait for it to dry a little bit and pull it really hard, and there you have it, your key is out.
Wow.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. The Voynich manuscript is an ancient book full of symbols and drawings that no one can translate till this day. Dracula was based on a real person. Vlad Dracula, a Romanian ruler that very much enjoyed watching people bleed to death. In 1963, the Bronx Zoo had an exhibition called The Most Dangerous Animal in the World. It was a mirror. 2 fishermen used their dead friend's ashes as fishing bait, and they caught the world's biggest carp. These are how Halloween costumes looked like in the 30s. If Earth stopped spinning for 1 second, everything and everyone will die instantly. A new homeowner found an old doll boarded up in his wall holding a note saying she killed a family in this house. This house is named the John Lawson House, and nobody knows who lives here. Every day, this porch is occupied by a number of female mannequins. The number of mannequins, the positions they're in, and the clothes they wear are changed every day, and no one knows who is doing this and why. Like for part 18.
Stay away from that house, man. John Lawson's house, noted.
Scary facts that will make your skin crawl. BT.6. Phobias are based on how we died in our past life. Maybe that's why we're afraid to do things we never tried, because it's how we died. Experts said that dark areas, such as abandoned houses and vacant rooms, are the possible places where you can feel the presence of ghosts. So if you're alone right now while reading this post, there is a chance that someone is watching you. If you're awake at night without a reason, then it means that you are awake in someone else's dreams.
Really? Interesting. Something standing out.
Scary fun facts until the Orbeez overflow. There are microscopic mites that live in your eyelashes. Being buried alive happens so often on accident that they've now invented safety coffins. In the 1800s, dentures were made with real teeth from the deceased. Radio station UVB76 has been broadcasting since 1982. All it does is make creepy noises and nobody knows where it's broadcasting from. Chainsaws were originally invented for childbirth. The final part of Mount Everest that you have to climb is known as Rainbow Valley. They call it that because all you see is all the different colored jackets from the frozen hikers. And it looks like I'm out of time. Follow for more fun facts.
Wow, okay.
Disturbing facts that may ruin your day. You are the oldest that you have ever been and the youngest that you will ever be. Your bed absorbs 26 gallons of your sweat every year. There are 15 dead people for every 1 person alive. Science can't measure exactly how strong a gorilla is, so there's no sure way on how to contain them. The gorilla enclosures at zoos are just based on trust. Every 18 minutes, someone in the United States has a brain aneurysm that ruptures. Vampire moths are real and can feed on the blood of humans. A jar of peanut butter contains 10 or more rodent hairs and can contain up to hundreds of insect fragments. Big Bird almost joined NASA's Challenger mission to help kids become more interested in space. Millions of kids would have watched Big Bird and the Challenger space shuttle explode on live television. Follow for more.
Scary facts that will give you nightmares, part 5. First up, did you know that pigs can eat literally anything, including humans? One thing a lot of people don't know about pigs is that there have been many records of farmers dying because their pigs ate them. This is usually because while tending to the pigs, the farmers will run into an accident like falling or something, and then the pigs will feast on their body. Next up, have you ever heard of fatal familial insomnia? Well, it's a rare genetic disease that can be inherited and makes it impossible for someone to sleep for months. Since this type of insomnia can last for so long, it can leave someone so exhausted that they develop high blood pressure, weight loss, severe exhaustion, and then death. And lastly, did you know that trees can grow inside of your lungs? In Russia, doctors were performing surgery on a man because they thought he had lung cancer, but instead of a tumor, they found a 5-centimeter tree branch in his lungs. They later found out that he swallowed a fir bud, which then grew into a tree branch.
We made dire bees almost 70 years ago, and we have not stopped paying for it. In the 1950s, folks flew in African honeybees to Brazil because they figured they could breed them with European honeybees in the hopes of making a hybrid better bee, one that was more productive than Euro bees and less on-site than Afro bees, because Afro bees are black Air Force tier of trouble. Brazilian beekeepers used excluder screens to keep the African queens from getting out. Problem is, they did not tell the new guys. Someone saw the screen screening, and was like, oh, we can't have that, and removed the screen, sending 26 African queens and swarms of Euro bees into Brazil, which quickly led to Africanized honeybees, or more known as killer bees. You see, generational trauma then made these African bees that much more trigger happy. Normally, a European queen bee will usually send out 20 to 30 attack bees at once. African honey queens unload half the whole clip, sending thousands, sometimes 30,000 attack bees at once. Not only that, but they chase people further than Euro bees and sting 10 times as much, with cases of people being tailgated by an angry swarm for a quarter of a mile. There's even stories of swarms waiting directly above a body of water so that the moment the runner comes up for air, all he gets is smoke. Over 1,000 people have been turned past tents by an air force of spite flies. And after being released in Brazil in '57, they hit America in the 90s like Will Smith and left their mark like the Fresh Prince left on Chris. And to add insult, they also somehow nerfed the honey industry, so nature really slapped us for cutting corners. And today, Africanized honeybees are like a rash infecting the US Southwest. Moral of the story, be better or be turned into letters, 3 in particular, the more you know.
The strangest places in the world, part 1. Firstly, on top of a hill in Pennsylvania, some stones can be found that shouldn't actually be there, because there's no nearby high terrain where they could have originated. These are called the ringing rocks, because whenever something hits these stones, they make a strange ringing noise.
Weird.
Next is the petrifying well in England, where water flows from a rock and turns whatever it touches into stone. As you can see, people often leave items like hats, teddy bears, or even bicycles, which appear to have already been turned into stone. Some people believe there's a mystical power, but the scientific reason behind this is the unusually high mineral content in the water, which forms a hard mineral shell on any object it comes into contact with. And within a few months, everything essentially becomes a stone statue.
Stone water.
The parents of 20-year-old Sudishka Kunaki believe that their daughter drowned in the ocean in the Dominican Republic and are pushing authorities to declare her deceased. Sudishka's parents also said that they don't believe Joshua Wright, who was the last person seen with their daughter before she went missing, to be involved in her death. Joshua also testified that Sudishka's parents hugged and thanked him for trying to save their daughter's life. Now, authorities were really surprised that Sudishka's parents asked to declare their daughter deceased after only 12 days of her going missing, when usually investigations go on for months before they stop looking for someone. But I don't know, in this case, it seems like their parents are genuinely convinced that Joshua didn't do anything to hurt their daughter, and I guess after seeing all the surveillance footage of both of them together before she went missing, the only other possibility is that she drowned in the ocean. This is the last time Sudishka and Joshua were seen together at the resort, and a lot of people have speculated that perhaps Sudishka was abducted on the beach after Joshua fell asleep, because remember, they were both really intoxicated. But I don't know, that seems very unlikely, especially at a resort in the Dominican Republic where, for the most part, it's pretty safe.
Animal group names that should be illegal for how happy they make me for free. A group of ferrets is called a business, which means I can finally show this picture without being out of context. And if that sounds too professional, just remember this first Slinky's Latin name means stinky weasel thief. A group of vultures is called a wake, but only when they're eating. When they're flying, they're called a kettle. A group of porcupines is a prickle. A prickle of porcupines, which also describes how they mate. A plurality of platypus is a paddle. Several sloths are a snuggle. A group of baboons in one place is a congress. No comment. A group of crows is scientifically referred to as a murder. Did you know crows will investigate the cause of death when a member of their murder croaks? Will also seemingly mourn the dead and grieve the loss of their... Oh, never mind. A group of ravens is an unkindness, and for the record, if you want to know the difference, if you're wondering if it's a crow or raven, it's a crow. And if you're wondering what in the Edgar Allan Nevermore looking It's probably a raven. Unkindness comes from the idea that ravens are deadbeat parents that often evict their chicks before they're even ready. They're also called a conspiracy. You know what else is a conspiracy? A lot of lemurs. This entire scene is a conspiracy, and the biggest one is that ring-tailed lemurs are female-dominated, so King Julian is actually a queen and a Julia. A group of parrots is a pandemonium, and once upon a time, a parrot was kicked out of the former president's funeral because he kept swearing through the service, so yeah, pandemonium. And lastly, a group of alpacas is a herd. But an alpaca giving birth is called an unpacking. Send it back.
Another cold case has been solved thanks to DNA. On December 23, 1983, 24-year-old Ronald Lee Novak was found dead in his home in rural Walker, Iowa. He was found by a friend with his hands tied behind his back in an unheated room in his apartment in the dead of winter in Iowa. He had been beaten and shot, but it was determined that his cause of death was a combination of his injuries, shock, and hypothermia. Investigators believed he was killed in a robbery or burglary gone wrong, but they had no suspects, and unfortunately, his case went cold. But over the last decade, DNA from Ronald's case was being tested, including DNA from his clothing and from a hammer found in his home believed to be used in the attack. Genetic genealogy allowed investigators to narrow the DNA down to 3 brothers, and then further DNA testing revealed that it was likely that 64-year-old Michael Schappert, who now lives in Fairview, Oregon, was the likely killer. The investigation revealed that Schappert, quote, likely went to Novak's home with the intent to rob him of money and marijuana. And now, more than 40 years after Ronald Novak's murder, he has been arrested. Schappert was arrested in Oregon and is being held there pending extradition to Iowa, and he is facing first-degree murder charges. The case is not completely closed, though, because it is believed that at least one more suspect was involved in Ronald's murder. Lynn County Sheriff Brian Gardner said, quote, by naming a suspect, it may cause other people to now come forward that maybe weren't willing to do so previously, or maybe this has jogged their memory some 41 years later. Ronald's sister said after the arrest that the investigation has been a long ride for the family, and she didn't know if she would ever see this day come. She said, quote, you start to give up hope that there will be an answer. I wanted it so bad. We look forward to the trial. At least now Ronald's family has answers, and hopefully he will soon be getting the justice he deserves. Rest in peace, Ronald.
These are some...
Rest in peace. Justice will come to you sooner or later.
If you could rack your brain right now to ask yourself what is the most disturbing Disney Channel original movie, which one would you pick? If you chose Don't Look Under the Bed, you're correct, because the movie actually almost never even made it to television. Any of the sequences that did eventually make the cut were considered so disturbing, this is actually one of the only Disney Channel original movies that has a TV PG rating. Anne Sweeney, who was the president of Disney Channel at the time, as well as countless other executives, had a lot of issues with this film. And even to this day, there are still some sequences, some scenes that have never seen the light of day. They were not going to be included in the movie. And I think in part, the credit should go to the director, who was really trying to creatively push the boundaries of what could be included in children's horror. Even just beyond the disturbing imagery, they explored some pretty dark themes in a children's movie, starting to play with psychological horror when Frances can see things that everybody else thinks she's crazy for. In 2006, Disney Channel had to pull it from the October catalog. It will not be on Disney Channel again.
YouTubers who became murderers, part 1. This was the YouTuber Elliot Rogers' last video.
Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you.
This was called the Day of Retribution. The son of a Hollywood filmmaker killed 6 people. Roger left the car and saw students across the street. He shot at them, taking the life of Veronica Weiss and Catherine Cooper. The suspect proceeded on foot and fired several rounds into the deli. One of the bullets struck and took the life of a student named Christopher Martinez. Then he drove down the left side of the road so he could fire at 2 pedestrians. Police then came running across the park, and Roger fired at them as he drove. But he was struck in the left hip. After he hit a cyclist, he crashed his car into the back of an SUV.
This guy in Brazil would dress up as Batman with a red hood. He even had his own homemade weapons, like the batarang and everything. He would break into suspected criminals' homes and just beat them senseless. This is as close to lore-accurate Batman as we might get. His name is Rodrigo Rodrigues da Silva. He was also known as the Punisher of Paranaíba in Brazil. He was arrested back in 2023. When he broke in, he had like bladed gauntlets, like the batarang, a utility belt full of different weapons and stuff. He also told police he had intentions to use all of his weapons on the person's home that he broke into. In Brazil, homicides are very, very prevalent in the country. He got kind of sick of all these criminals getting away with it, so he decided to take justice into his own hands. I forgot one more thing. He also had a submachine gun on him. It's not pictured here, but crazy. And mind you, these are suspected criminals, so maybe some of these aren't confirmed criminals, but it's just crazy to think about, Batman breaking into your home and just beating you senseless at night. And the work that he put in to make his suit and his weapons and everything, crazy stuff. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Her father...
You ever real life Batman, bro, in Brazil? How come that didn't make that in the news or something, man? That's my first time hearing it, bro. He real life tried to become Batman, bro. He had the weapons, the batarangs, all that. That's freaking crazy to think about, man. We got a real life Batman before GTA 6.
Judith Eva Barcy was born on June 6 of 1978 in Los Angeles, California. Her parents, Joseph and Maria, were originally from Hungary and had met at a restaurant in California. From a very young age, Maria was fascinated with Hollywood and was determined to make her daughter famous. Judith was discovered while she was ice skating one day and was asked to come out in a commercial. From there, it was just the start of her career, and she came out in the movies All Dogs Go to Heaven and Land Before Time. Judith was very small for her age, and she even started taking hormone injections to make herself grow. Her success helped her family thrive, and she was making about $100,000 a year, and her parents used that to buy a 3-bedroom house in Los Angeles. Although Judith's career was thriving, something sinister was going to happen behind the scenes. Judith's father had drinking problems, and he was angry with his daughter's success. He had even gotten arrested 3 times for driving under the influence. Many of Maria's friends told her to leave her husband, but she refused because she was scared that she was going to lose the house, her belongings, and that he would unalive her somehow. On July 27th of 1988, around 8:30 a.m., the family's neighbor was watering her garden when she heard an explosion. That neighbor rushed to call 911 because she was afraid that Joseph had unalived his family. That neighbor was right because Joseph had shot Maria and Judith in the head and then poured gasoline everywhere. And Maria were buried together in Hollywood Hills, California, and Joseph is said to be in an unmarked grave.
This might be the most insane case of police cover-up I've ever seen in my entire life. Arrest has finally been made in the murder of Sandra Birchmore, who all of this started back in 2010 when Sandra was just 12 years old. She enrolls in the county's police youth program where her alleged killer, Officer Matthew Farwell, is an instructor. At some point, Officer Farwell, who's 27 years old, begins grooming Sandra, and by the time she's 15, they're having a full-on intimate relationship, if you know what I mean. When Sandra turns 18, she's obviously aged out of the program, but maintains a relationship with Officer Farwell, who is married with children. In October of 2020, Sandra tells Farwell that she wants a child, and he apparently agrees to get her pregnant in exchange for her silence about the statutory R word and extramarital affair. 2 months later, Sandra's pregnant, and after Farwell finds out, he becomes physically violent with Sandra. She told multiple friends that Farwell had pushed her, shoved her, and even placed her in a chokehold. In January the following year, someone called the police department and leaked this information. When the employee told Farwell about this phone call, he became visibly angry and told them to keep this information secret. Within days of that phone call, Farwell starts to allegedly plan Sandra's murder. All of a sudden, he wants a spare key to her apartment. 2 days after that, he starts canvassing her apartment, looking for places to carry out the murder. He inspected her bathroom closet, specifically places where items could be hung, and his behavior was strange enough that Sandra told multiple friends that she was concerned. A week later, on February 1st, Farwell enters Sandra's apartment wearing a face mask where police say he strangled her to death. And by the way, while Farwell was allegedly committing this murder, his wife was in the hospital giving birth. Family ended up hiring a private medical examiner who did rule it as a homicide. After years of a federal investigation and her family refusing to stay silent, Matthew Farwell has finally been indicted for her murder.
He is interested in blondes. I'm not blonde, I'm a brunette. So I'd go in the shower, take fingernail clippers, and just cut my hair off. Trying to do everything I can to get his attention again. I would have given anything to that man. I would have bought the sun, the moon, and the stars and gave it to him on a platter. And that hurts me that I loved him that much.
Why does it hurt you?
Because I feel like no one is ever gonna love him as much as I loved him at that time. And it makes me feel better knowing that he's truly sorry for hurting me. But it doesn't change anything. Like, I married Ryan. I have a marriage now. I'm wearing this wedding ring that belonged to Ryan's mom. Like, I have a commitment to my husband. And I want to keep that.
Talking about her ex.
But what's gonna happen when Ryan and I have an argument? is that little thought in the back of my head gonna say, Ken is single.
Jeffrey Dahmer targeted this 14-year-old boy. The police found him naked, bleeding from his rectum and everything, and Jeffrey Dahmer convinced the police to return him. He told the police that was his boyfriend. They had an argument. Police returned him to Dahmer, and then he got mutilated that night and killed. His name was Coverup Sympthosophone. And like I said, he was found naked, drugged, and bleeding from his rectum on a street corner, and police returned him to Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, dude, if you're seeing blood on somebody, maybe investigate, ask some more questions. His death was also absolutely horrific. He had a hole drilled into his head, and then Jeffrey Dahmer poured acid inside of it to try to recreate a real-life zombie out of him. He was trying to melt the kid's brains out. I think if the kid acted out and got arrested by police, he would have had a better chance to live. This is just so crazy that you would see the kid in this condition and decide to return him to, like, the person that's claiming to be his boyfriend. Hell, even if it was his boyfriend, right? Just look at the situation he's in, dude. Just investigate more. There's obviously some sort of abuse going on here. But it is sickening how much Jeffrey Dahmer actually got away with. This is just one of his many sick and twisted ways that he killed people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
People are just finding out about the 500-year-old girl who is coming back to life. Stick with me because you're in for a wild ride, as you can see here. I did a video on this a long time ago, but for some reason it's circulating round again right now, freaking people out online and on social media, so here we go. So this mummy right here is known as La Doncella, or the Children of the Lulacana. These different mummies here are all part of the same family, the Children of the Lulacanu, where this group of mummies were found preserved at the top of the Lulacana volcano. But just wait, because it's crazy. This is the Lulacano volcano, which they were found right at the summit of this. And as you can imagine, it's pretty high up and pretty damn cold. The first crazy part is that look how realistic she looks right now, and she's over 500 years old. Or with all of these people being believed to have lived in the 14 and 1500s, and it's also believed they were and sacrificed when they were only around 13 years old, then buried and left at the top of this. Now where it gets even more interesting, of course, the archaeologists found these preserved bodies with all the body features and everything still being there after 500 years. Normally you'd be gone, mate. But this is how you might imagine someone who had passed away about 20-30 years ago at tops. But by far the craziest bit out of all of this, I know you're waiting for it, she's coming back to life. Essentially, what happened is the scientists who were doing the test when they got these preserved mummies obviously wanted to figure out how the hell is this possible. Of course, from being at the altitude and those sort of temperatures, it froze her body and her insides. So they found her organs perfectly intact, healthier than probably some of you, and even frozen blood still in her body and in her veins. So she was basically the first person to get cryogenically frozen. Now, no, she's not necessarily coming back to life, just going to get up and start walking again. All of these mummies are now in a museum. But the point of what people have been saying is she could technically come back to life. I actually saw a few scientists have said that it could potentially be possible, but it's not exactly going to be the easiest thing in the world, so I highly doubt it.
And they said her organs intact. Blood and stuff still circulating. Certainly a chance, but like I said, I don't know. Mummies? This shit getting crazier, bro.
Correct! If someone is trying to make you decide in a hurry, they are probably giving you a bad deal. Walk away. If someone has a panic attack, start breathing regularly and loudly. The person that is panicking will subconsciously start breathing in rhythm with you. When a group of people laugh, they tend to look at the person they like the most. Nervousness and excitement have the same body reaction, so if you're nervous for a speech, trick yourself into thinking you're actually excited. If you think someone is watching you, fake a yawn, then watch them. Get someone to contribute to an idea and they will more likely accept it. If you whisper to someone, it's more likely they will whisper back even if there's no good reason to lower your voice. If you want to make someone feel uncomfortable, look at their forehead while you're talking to them. If you want somebody to open up to you, ask them a question. If the person only partially answers it, remain silent and keep eye contact. This will pressure the person into talking more. If you want to be more persuasive, reduce the use of the words I think and I believe. Okay. Touching someone on their shoulder or on their knee creates a stronger emotional bond with that person. Chew gum if you are still nervous. Our brains assume that if we are eating, then we are not in any immediate danger, lowering our fight or flight response. When you approach a group of people, notice if they turn their feet towards you or away from you. If their feet point away from you, you are probably not welcome. Subtly nodding when people are talking to you indicates that you are genuinely interested in what they are having to say and they're going to like you more. If you take a moment to look at someone's eye color when meeting them, you'll be giving them the perfect amount of eye contact. If there is a mirror behind where you are ordering, you are less likely to be rude because nobody wants to see themselves actually be rude. If you buy the first pitcher at the bar with your friends, you'd be surprised how far you could go by saying, "I bought the first one." If someone is making jokes at your expense, act like you can't hear them and ask them to repeat it multiple times. By the time they say it a third or fourth time, nobody's laughing. When someone remembers you, they are most likely going to remember the first memory and the last memory of you. So make sure you always leave a good last impression too. After you have learned how to do something new and have done it yourself, the fastest way to retain that information is to teach somebody else. If you have a song stuck in your head and you can't get it out, try and listen to the whole song all the way through while singing it. Your brain is treating the song like an unfinished task in your subconscious. Plan something for every Wednesday that you can look forward to. You'll start to look forward to it on Monday, and by the time Wednesday comes around, you're already halfway through the week and almost to the weekend.
Wow.
If you ask someone to do a small favor for you, their subconscious mind is going to register that they like you because they're doing a favor for you. Showing the palms of your hands while talking to someone subconsciously communicates that you have nothing to hide and that you can be trusted. Whenever you're introducing a new idea to someone and you lead with the words, "This might not be for you, but," it intrigues their interest and makes it feel like it probably is for them. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, put something in your room out of place. If you don't want to get out of bed, throw your pillow across the room. The next day, you will see this item out of place and it will jog your memory of what you need to accomplish. If you're procrastinating, just stop telling yourself how much work you have to do. This will overwhelm you. Instead, tell yourself you only have to work for 5-10 minutes, and then you're likely going to continue working past those minutes. People who are lying will normally blink more than normal, hide the palms of their hands, glance up to the right, mess with their hair, or use abnormally long sentences. If you're trying to get over a breakup, do not use fictional scenarios. Imagining your person with someone new is only going to make you more angry and sad about something that's not even real. If you want to create a deeper connection with someone you're interested in, ask them these two questions. What do you think we have in common? And what do you like most about me? If you are suffering from racing thoughts, use the 3-3-3 rule. Name 3 things you see, 3 things you hear, and 3 parts of your body. This will help center your mind and bring you back to the present. When someone apologizes for something that you don't feel like was that big of a deal to apologize for, they're probably telling you subconsciously what actually bothers them if it was done to them. If they apologize for interrupting you, they probably really just don't like being interrupted themselves. Follow for more psychology hacks.
Interesting hacks. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video, comment down below, hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next videos. Follow all my social medias down below, man. Discord is down below as well. Just added that. Guys, gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.